Thank you for joining us in finding God in the world of video games. And there is a lot of excitement in the air. We are just mere weeks away, depending on when you're watching. This could have already happened, but when we're recording this, we're mere weeks away from the launches of both the Xbox Series S and X consoles, as well as the PlayStation 5. And as we are closing in on this date with Destiny, I have a question.
Wait a second, date with Destiny? Wait, are we playing that game again? I thought we were over that.
No, that's still over. It's just a turn of date with Destiny.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, maybe we should give Beyond Light a try.
No.
I mean, it does look so shiny.
No, be strong. Be strong. You're better than this, okay?
Okay, we both know I'm not. I bought Anthem for $5 in a moment of weakness.
No, wasn't it $3?
No,
I thought it was like $2.99.
I bought 2 copies. Actually.
I've forgiven you for that.
I'm not
but I felt
strong.
like you were going somewhere with this. You were going somewhere with this, okay?
Yes. Okay. So the new consoles. I think that's where we're going.
Okay.
The new consoles. So I was thinking, we've talked a lot about, in some of our previous videos, about the power of these consoles, their storage capacity, the increased, enhanced visuals, the shorter loading times. We talked about almost everything that we can at this point, except the part that brings it all together, the controller.
Yes. From the very first rectangular controller on the original NES to our modern controller we enjoy today, the design and functions of these have evolved alongside each console generation to provide everything from a more ergonomic feel, faster response times, and additional features.
It's hard to believe it, but there was a time when a grenade would go off right next to you, your controller would not react at all, like it didn't even happen. Like it didn't even care. There was a time when controllers just sat there lifelessly in our hands as the entire world could explode around us and we felt nothing. There was a time before force feedback and these vibration functions became commonplace in controllers. And now this experience is an expectation because we have found that obviously one of the best ways to feel immersed in a game is to, actually feel it.
I'm not gonna lie, man. Okay, it would be hard for me to go back now. I'm so used to that familiar jolt when I hit the corner when I'm racing in a game.
You do that a lot.
I do that all the time. That's why I don't play racing games anymore.
Well, not well.
Or when you feel the tug on your controller from the fishing line in Animal Crossing.
Yeah, you kind of need that.
It doesn't feel like it would be natural without all that.
Certainly, and you probably miss a whole lot of really good sharks without having that tug on there to get the
like
timing
the Pro
down.
Controller, it doesn't do that. So
I'm aware because I always get
missing
stuck
fish.
playing with it. So fortunately, this whole concept of the force feedback in controllers, this is going to continue to be present in our controllers in the future. Both Sony and Microsoft have confirmed they're going to continue to support this feature with their next controllers.
It'd be weird if they didn't.
Now, your original Xbox One controllers will continue to work on both of those new consoles, but Sony is launching an entirely new controller. We can't demonstrate it because it hasn't come out yet. It is going to be a sleek upgrade to the previous DualShock design, and it's called the DualSense. This is going to be a huge upgrade to what we used to have, these old-fashioned rumble motors, and it's going to replace these with dual actuators that feature what is called haptic feedback, which means you will feel the recoil differently when you're firing different weapons. Or you'll feel the difference in terrain, whether you're driving on a smooth street as compared to maybe grinding through mud.
That sounds pretty cool. I'm actually really looking forward to trying this new technology out for myself in a few weeks because it is really hard to get excited about a controller until you actually, can kind of feel the difference.
Well, sure. And with all the new information on new games, graphical capabilities, faster loading times, those are all things we can see. It's much harder to get an understanding of what something feels like until we can actually hold it in our hands. And much of the human experience is made up of feeling, whether it's an emotional feeling or a physical one. A lot of it depends on context. For example, I like the feeling of frosted flakes crunching in my mouth. It's familiar and it's reassuring. If I was eating banana pudding and I felt that same crunch, I'm going to be slightly concerned how it got made.
Gross. As believers in Christ, it can be easy for us to want to trust our feelings or at least give them the opportunity to have a voice in our choices and decisions in life. But as we will see in the story of Naaman, if we go by what we see and feel, we will often miss out on the very blessings that God has for us.
And you'll see that story in 2 Kings 5. Naaman is the commander of the Syrian army, and at that time the Syrians were the largest military power in the world, which would make Naaman quite an important and powerful man. but he was also afflicted with leprosy, a condition that in that time was incurable, contagious, and life-threatening. Leprosy was dangerous because it's a bacterial infection that would destroy nerve endings. It would eliminate the pain signals that would normally get sent to the body. Because the body could no longer feel pain or danger, it would put the infected individual at risk of doing long-term harm to their body simply because they couldn't feel themselves doing it, like placing their hand on something that was hot. They couldn't feel that their skin was burning until it had already burned.
Now, feelings are important, okay, or we wouldn't have them. But as critical as they are to protecting us, they can also be misleading if we depend on them for guidance.
And if you continue through 2 Kings 5, we'll see that Naaman is informed by a young Jewish captive that there's a prophet in Israel who could heal his leprosy. This prophet's name is Elisha. You may have heard of him. He's kind of a big deal. So Naaman travels all the way to Israel to meet with him. But he was about to be tested on what feelings still remained to him before his healing could actually begin. You see in 2 Kings chapter 5, verses 9 through 14, the story of Naaman and his introduction or not introduction to Elisha. Naaman was offended by how simple and yet repulsive the action Elisha wanted him to take. Elisha didn't even go out to meet him. He said, "Go wash in the Jordan River and you will be cleaned." Elisha was testing Naaman through the Lord to see if he was truly ready to receive healing from a God who does many things contrary to what we see, what we feel, or what we think. God was challenging Naaman directly to come to him on his terms, not as a general, not as a conqueror, or even as a grown adult who happens to, like clean bodies of water in the River Jordan was not, which was one of the principal issues Naaman had, is it wasn't just that he was being told, if I just go simply dip in this water, then I'm going to become clean. He had to dip in this nasty, horrible Jordan River in order to be clean.
Correct.
And he had to come to God in order to be healed as a trusting child who was not overthinking this.
Now, it can be easy to overthink the ways of God because we like to believe in what we can see and what we feel, even when He has promised us that He directs our paths.
When we feel stressed or panicked or scared, I'm just going to tell you straight up, those are not feelings from God. He does not give those to you. The Bible says very specifically in 2 Timothy 1:7, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. Whatever you're feeling, if it's not those things, it's not from God. And it is okay to feel things, but not to be guided by them. Now, the River Jordan still felt nasty to Naaman as he got into it. It was dirty, it was inconvenient, and honestly probably kind of embarrassing for him to dip into. But that was the only place Naaman could find his healing. It was a place that he would have never looked. It was a place that had no prior or future demonstrations of healing power. It wasn't the river itself that was special. This wasn't about what he felt. It was about his obedience to God when his feelings, his emotions, and everything he saw told him it was too easy, too strange, or maybe because of his status beneath him.
Now, we want to encourage you today that whether you are still making up your mind about what you believe about Jesus or simply not sure about the path He has placed you on, it may not make sense from our natural vision. It may not feel the way you want it to feel.
And it may seem weird. That's because it is. The whole thing is impossible to understand from the scope of our human minds. An omnipotent deity came to earth as a mortal man just so we could murder him, which in turn would save us so we can live with him forever. It doesn't sound normal.
No.
The act of accepting him almost seems too easy to wash away all of our horrible sins. The act of baptism, which you saw, that's kind of what Naaman was experiencing as he dipped in the River Jordan, almost seems too basic and simple to confirm our birth into this new life. But this is exactly what God told Naaman to do. Accept his word with obedience, go dip in the water, and receive his healing. It didn't have to make sense, and it didn't have to feel good. It simply had to be done.
So, what feeling is standing in your way of God's promise? What has he told you to do, but it doesn't make sense, or it might be embarrassing, or maybe it seems too small to actually make a difference?
Whatever it is, the only way we receive the healing and the blessing to embrace the next step in our walk with Him is to do the thing that may not feel right. But if He told us to do it, He has His reasons. If you are waiting for an invitation to follow Him, here it is. Join all of us who were formerly sin-damaged lepers, who have been given new life through Him. And if you have been following Him for a while, and He's just asked you to jump into some nasty river that doesn't feel right or seem to make sense right now, I can promise you that none of it will make sense.
No.
Not until you have followed through and obeyed.